star. Venus opens a door. Eala receives the opportunity of a lifetime. It is warm. It is emotional. It is also incomplete. Because Venus Williams has spent her entire life around elite tennis. She knows hundreds of players. She understands doubles better than almost anyone still active on the tour. If she wanted a partner with experience, she had options. If she wanted an American partner, she had options. If she wanted a famous name, she had options. So why Alex Eala? We cannot know every detail of the private conversation that created this partnership. Venus has never said that one match alone made the decision. But the most convincing explanation begins on January 5th in Auckland, New Zealand. That was the day Venus Williams stood across the net from Alex Eala and lost. Once the dates are placed in the correct order, this partnership stops looking like charity. It starts looking like recognition. To understand why that matters, we have to go back before Wimbledon, before Berlin, before the top 30 ranking, and before most American tennis fans knew how dangerous Alex Eala could become. We have to go back to Manila. The Philippines loves basketball. Courts appear in crowded neighborhoods, beside roads, between buildings, and anywhere a hoop can be placed. The country also understands boxing. Manny Pacquiao became more than a champion. He became a national event. Tennis has never held the same position. There have been Filipino professionals, there have been respected players, especially in doubles, but there was no established pathway for a Filipino girl trying to become an elite singles player. When Eala began playing at 4 years old, there was no clear map in front of her. Her mother, Rosemary, understood competition. She had represented the Philippines in swimming at the Southeast Asian Games. The family understood discipline, early mornings, repetition, and the loneliness of an individual sport. But professional tennis required a different world. It required travel, it required money, it required international coaching. It required a young player to leave home before she could fully understand what leaving home would cost. Eala proved herself at Les Petits. As in France, one of the most respected junior tournaments in the world. Her success helped bring an opportunity to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. For a young Filipino player, that opportunity was enormous. It also demanded a sacrifice that highlight videos rarely show. She had to leave her family, her friends, her language, her food, and the comfort of everything familiar. She moved thousands of miles away to train in Spain, inside an academy built around the standards of one of the greatest competitors tennis has ever known. She was not following a Filipino blueprint. She was building one. That difference matters. A talented American player can study generations of players who came before her. She can find former professionals, coaches, college programs, national training centers, and examples of almost every possible career path. Eala had far fewer answers waiting for her. When should she turn professional? Which events should she play? How should she manage the pressure of representing a country that desperately wanted her to succeed? What happens when progress stops for 6 months? What happens when the ranking falls and the expenses continue? Being first can look glamorous after the breakthrough. Before the breakthrough, being first often feels like walking through darkness. In 2022, Eala won the U.S. Open Girls Singles title. She became the first Filipino player to win a Junior Grand Slam Singles Championship. She completed the tournament without dropping a set. The victory changed how the Philippines looked at her. She was no longer only a promising junior. She became a symbol of what Filipino tennis might become. That attention arrived before the professional results were ready to carry it. She was still a teenager. She was still learning how to survive against adult players who had spent years solving the exact problems she was bringing onto the court. A junior Grand Slam title guarantees almost nothing at the professional level. It proves talent, it proves competitive strength. It does not guarantee that a player will survive injuries, ranking pressure, travel, financial demands, and the physical difference between junior tennis and the WTA Tour. Eala still had to make that jump. By 2025, the jump had begun. At the Miami Open, she defeated major champions and produced the biggest run of her professional career. She beat Jelena Ostapenko. She beat Madison Keys. She beat Iga Swiatek. Then she pushed Jessica Pegula in the semifinal. Suddenly, American broadcasters were learning her name. Filipino flags appeared across the stands in Florida. The tennis world began to understand that the junior champion from Manila had become a real threat. Then came Eastbourne. Eala reached her first WTA Tour final on grass. She became the first Filipina to reach a final at that level. Against Maya Joint, she reached championship point. Then she reached it again. Then again. Then one more time. 4 championship points. 4 chances to become the first Filipino singles champion on the WTA Tour. She lost all 4. She lost the match. The result was painful, but it did not suggest failure. It proved she could reach the final stage of a major professional event. The problem was what happened next. During the North American hard court swing, Eala faced former Wimbledon champion Marketa Vondrousova. Eala won the first set 6-3. She was controlling the match. Then her left shoulder became a problem. For a left-handed player, that is not a minor concern. It affects the serve. It affects the forehand. It affects the shot patterns that organize the entire game. The rhythm disappeared. She lost the next 2 sets. Then she withdrew from Cincinnati. Her ranking eventually slipped to number 68. The danger was not that Eala had suddenly forgotten how to play tennis. The danger was interruption. Momentum is difficult to create and easy to lose. 1 month earlier, she had stood 1 point away from a WTA Tour title. Now she was managing pain, uncertainty, and the fear that her body might stop every new rise before it could become permanent. That period should not be exaggerated into a career collapse. She had already proved too much for that, but it was a real test. The spotlight became quieter. The schedule became less certain. The shoulder had to be rebuilt. Confidence had to return 1 practice at a time. Then came January 5th, 2026, the ASB Classic in Auckland. First round of the women's doubles draw. On one side were Venus Williams and Elina Svitolina. Venus brought 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 14 Grand Slam doubles titles, and more than 30 years of professional experience. Svitolina brought a career-high ranking of number 3, a WTA Finals title, Olympic success, and years near the top of the sport. On the other side were Alex Eala and Iva Jovic. Eala was 20, Jovic was 18. They had far less experience together and almost no reason to be favored. The first set reached a tiebreak. The veterans had chances. The younger pair refused to give the set away. Eala and Jovic won the tiebreak 9-7. Then they won the second set 6-1. That score matters. It was not a ceremonial appearance. It was not a close loss that still allowed everyone to feel good. 2 young players beat 2 decorated champions, then controlled the second set almost completely. After the match, Eala showed respect. She spoke about Venus and Svitolina as pioneers. She made clear that sharing the court with them mattered to her. That response revealed humility. The result revealed something else. She belonged. Venus Williams did not learn about Alex Eala through a marketing campaign. She experienced her game directly. She saw the left-handed angles. She saw the return pressure. She saw the speed. She saw how the young pair reacted when the first set became tense. Most importantly, she felt what Eala could do when a match stopped being comfortable. Does that prove Venus immediately decided to partner with her? No. But it created the kind of information great competitors trust. Not a ranking, not a highlight, not a recommendation from someone outside the court. Direct evidence. Venus lost to her. That is the first important reversal in this story. The partnership did not begin with Venus giving Eala a chance. It may have begun with Eala forcing Venus to notice her. There is a major difference between kindness and competitive respect. Kindness can be offered without proof. Competitive respect must be earned. At the highest level, players remember who makes them uncomfortable. They remember the return that arrives earlier than expected. They remember the opponent who refuses to panic in a tiebreak. They remember the player who creates an angle that changes the shape of the court. A great champion does not need a doubles partner who is simply grateful. She needs someone useful. She needs someone dangerous. The Auckland match did not explain everything that came later, but it gave Venus a first-hand answer to the most important question. Can Alex Eala help win a professional tennis match? The answer was yes, and the following 6 months made that answer even stronger. Eala began turning potential into repeatable results. In Birmingham, she won the Lexus Birmingham Open. It was her second WTA 125 title and her first title on grass. That distinction matters. It was not yet a main WTA Tour title, but it showed that the disappointment of Eastbourne and the shoulder problem had not taken away her ability to finish a tournament. 1 week later, in Berlin, the level rose again. Eala faced Elena Rybakina, a Wimbledon champion and one of the most dangerous grass court players in the world. Eala fell behind. Then she changed the match. She attacked earlier. She redirected power. She refused to let Rybakina control every first strike. Eala won 7-5, 6-4. After the match, she called her father. The two of them screamed with joy over the phone. That moment mattered because the career had once been built through distance. Mallorca was far from Manila. The sacrifices had happened across countries and time zones. Now a victory over one of the best players in the world could travel home in seconds. Then Eala faced Alina Svitolina in the quarterfinal. The same Svitolina who had stood beside Venus in Auckland. Eala won 6-3, 6-4. In January, she had beaten Svitolina in doubles during a match few people watched. In June, she beat her in singles during a WTA 500 quarterfinal with the tennis world paying attention. Eala reached the Berlin semifinal. By then, the idea that she was only enjoying one exciting run no longer worked. She was winning on different surfaces, in different countries, against different styles. Then came Bad Homburg. For the first time, Venus Williams and Alex Eala walked onto a professional court as partners. They won their opening match. They reached the quarterfinals. They did it with a 25-year age difference and very limited time together. They eventually lost to the second-seeded team of Olivia Nichols and Teresa Mihalakova. The result was respectable. The meeting was more interesting. 6 months earlier, Venus had stood across the net from Eala and lost. Now, she had chosen to stand beside her. That timeline does not prove a private motive. It does reveal a competitive logic. Venus had already seen what Eala could do under pressure. Then Wimbledon changed the scale of the conversation. Eala entered the tournament as the number 29 seed. She became the first Filipino player ever seeded in a Grand Slam singles draw. Seeding is not a gift. It is not a marketing decision. It is the tournament recognizing ranking, results, and position in the first round. Eala defeated Renata Zarazua. In the second round, she recovered after losing the opening set to Maya Joint. She won the final 2 sets, 6-2, 6-love. Then came the third round. Iga Swiatek, the defending Wimbledon champion, center court. The same player Eala had shocked in Miami, now meeting her again on the biggest grass court stage in tennis. The first set became a battle. Eala won the tiebreak 11 points to 9. Then she took control, 6-2 in the second set, straight sets against the defending champion. Eala became the first Filipino player in the Open era to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam singles event. She eventually lost to Jasmine Paolini in 3 sets. But even the loss carried a message. The run was not created by one lucky draw or one inspired afternoon. Eala had beaten a dangerous first-round opponent, recovered from a set-down in round 2, defeated the defending champion, and pushed another elite player through 3 sets. On July 13th, she reached a career-high ranking of number 28. 1 week later, she stood at number 29. That small drop did not change the larger reality. The player who had fallen to number 68 after the shoulder injury was now established inside the top 30. Then the WTA grass court fan vote delivered another signal. Eala received 89% of the vote, for Star of the Swing. That was not a narrow victory. It showed that results were creating emotional investment. Fans were not only watching her, they had decided to care about what happened next. Now return to the original question. Why Alex Eala? Why would Venus Williams choose this specific young player? The honest answer has two parts. The first part is what we know. Venus faced Eala in Auckland. Eala and Jovic defeated Venus and Svitolina in straight sets. Months later, Venus partnered with Eala in Bad Homburg. They reached the quarterfinals. Then they reunited in Washington. The second part is what the timeline strongly suggests. Venus did not need to imagine whether Eala could handle the moment. She had already felt it. She had seen Eala return against her. She had seen her compete through a tiebreak. She had seen her stay composed beside another young player. She had seen that the name from the Philippines was attached to a game with real professional value. Then the rest of the season confirmed the first impression. Birmingham, Rybakina, Svitolina, Swiatek, Wimbledon, the top 30, the fan vote. 1 is a WTA Finals champion, 2 are Grand Slam champions. All 3 represent the level Eala was once only expected to reach someday. Now she was beating them. That does not mean Venus predicted every result. It means she recognized the tools before the public had seen the complete picture. 30 years on tour can create that kind of pattern recognition. A champion understands that rankings often move after the game has already changed. The public waits for the number. Players feel the change earlier. But there is still one final question. What did Venus need from Eala? The answer cannot be found in one quote, because Venus has not publicly explained every tactical reason behind the partnership, but doubles offers clear clues. At 46, Venus does not need a partner who treats the match like an exhibition. She needs a partner with fresh legs, fast reactions, and the ability to cover space. She needs someone who can return aggressively and create pressure early in the point. She needs a player who can generate left-handed angles, force weak replies, and allow Venus to move forward. She needs someone willing to listen, but not someone who becomes passive beside a legend. Respect is important. Competitive independence is even more important. Eala brings both. She grew up admiring Venus. Then she beat her. That combination may be exactly why the partnership works. Eala does not have to pretend Venus is ordinary. She understands the history standing beside her, but once the ball is in play, history cannot cover the middle of the court. History cannot make the return. History cannot chase a lob. A partnership survives only when both players contribute something real. Venus brings experience, positioning, net instincts, calm under pressure, and knowledge collected across thousands of matches. Eala brings speed, youth, left-handed patterns, baseline pressure, and the confidence of a player who has learned that elite names can be beaten. One player carries the history of women's tennis. The other is creating history for a country that has never seen a singles career like hers. That is why the image from Washington matters. It is not simply a legend standing beside a fan. It is not a symbolic photograph designed to make everyone feel good. It is two competitors meeting at a point where their needs align. Venus can give Eala knowledge that no academy can fully reproduce. Eala can give Venus something equally important: a partner capable of helping her compete now. That is the final reversal. At first, it looks like Alex Eala is receiving everything: the invitation, the attention, the lessons, the chance to stand beside one of the greatest players in history. But Venus Williams did not return to professional tennis only to become a mentor. She returned to compete. And competitors choose partners because they believe those partners can help them win. We may never know whether Venus made that choice because of one tiebreak in Auckland, one conversation afterward, one practice session, or several months of watching Eala rise. The responsible answer is that it was probably a combination. But Auckland remains the moment that changes how the entire story should be understood. Before Venus partnered with Alex Eala, she tested her. Before she stood beside her, she stood against her. Before the world called Eala a Wimbledon breakthrough, Venus had already watched her take control of a professional match. That is not proof of a secret plan.